this to continue going on? How did they happen? Well, there's a story on ProPublica.org that specifically talks about this, how greed and incompetence, what they did was hoarded PPE equipment simply because they wanted to save it for themselves. They wanted to be able to sell it back to others so they could make a profit. And this happened throughout the Trump presidency. He hired the most incompetent people because they would be loyal. They didn't know their jobs. They were dependent on him. So they would do what he wanted. His presidency was about narcissism and ego. So he wanted to appear to be the big guy, the bad guy, the only person remember, he said he was smarter than the generals. Remember, he was smarter than all the folks in the intelligence community. Remember, that's a fact. He said those things. And so when the pandemic started, the country had the resources. Are you listening to me? The country had the resources to stop the pandemic in its tracks. And they didn't, because they were waiting to hoard all the equipment so they could sell it for profit. Like American lives don't mean anything. The more and more this administration is going out, is the more you're hearing stuff. Like just yesterday, I've been talking about herd immunity for months now, remember? And I said that they were going to practice herd immunity on us. Well, yesterday it came out that they actually discussed that. They actually have emails in which the person appointed by the president inserted himself at the CDC and told the scientists to make sure the messaging that goes out says open the country so that young people would develop antibodies and young people would get infected. And if young people got infected, then everyone would be infected and we would all survive. I don't know where they come up with that kind of idea that herd immunity works. You know, herd immunity actually takes 20 years. That means the virus has to sit on a population for 20 years before it actually works. Well, his idea kind of did work, because what happened was we didn't develop any immunity, but 300,000 people died and over 15 million have become infected. If there are 300 million, let's just say hypothetically, if there are 300 million people in the US, 15 million is about 5% of the population, like 2.5% of the population. That's what they're saying. It is crazy. It is like crazy, crazy, crazy. The more I read this stuff, is the more I am appalled at the evidence that is now being shown and exhibited that demonstrates how ineffective and incompetent these people were. And not only was their incompetence, their lack of caring. They did not care what they did. They did not care how they treated people. They did not care how people were conducted. They didn't care one jack for the very American people who pay taxes, who work hard to pay taxes so that they can get paid. Trump increased salaries for everybody across the board. He paid them the highest that they could be paid based on federal standards. Because after all, the people whom he appointed were working for the government. So they got government benefits, right? So he knew what he was doing. He's a rapacious capitalist. And here you are, you have people, lay people, who are refusing to believe the pandemic. I'm like, are you seriously kidding me right now? The Prime Minister of Great Britain, if they know where Britain is, maybe okay, let's say the United Kingdom. You think they know where that is? Let's say England. Maybe they will know that. The Prime Minister of England developed the coronavirus. At 4 o'clock this morning, the BBC announced that the Prime Minister, the French President, Emmanuel Macron, has tested positive for the coronavirus. So for all you people writing out there maskless and saying that there is no pandemic, when these people in other countries are getting it, is that a joke? Is that something to deny? Are you stupid, or are you even more stupid? It's mind-blowing. It's just simply crazy. I simply can't wrap my mind around it. And now you're looking at a situation where even your own president had it, but it was a hoax. It's a hoax. He got it and infected people, and it's a hoax. Right here in Michigan, the Michigan Senate is meeting because they want to suspend coronavirus regulations and sanctions in the state to stem the tide of coronavirus infections. They're having people in their constituencies testing positive for corona, but they're in denial. They're thinking about the effect on business. Can you be any more stupid? That is beyond the pale, man. That now is not a political decision. You're just being plain stupid. That's just being plain and dumb and stupid. In spite of the evidence, you don't want to believe science? Well, it's snowing. A few months ago, it was summer. So figure that out. When you have figured that one out, if you're going to say the seasons change, that's science, dummy. Like, where do these people come from? Their blandness. Oh my God, it is incomprehensible. They keep telling lies about election fraud that never happened. They know it never happened. They know it doesn't happen. If it never happened in how many hundreds of years we've been having elections, it's unlikely that it happened this time just because your person lost. But you're still propagating it and promulgating it as much as you can just because you are looking stupid. And here's the deal. You know how you're going to look even more stupid? Guess what? Trump is going to make a deal with the incoming administration. He's going to make a deal so he won't get prosecuted. Meanwhile, you'll still be hanging out there in left field. He's going to make a deal. They're going to tell him, you're going to go away for good and you're not going to come back and you're not going to talk about 2022 or 2024. Otherwise, your family will be locked up. Trump is going to make the deal. See, it's the 18th of December. Tomorrow will be the 18th of December. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the year. You know what is ticking? Time. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Trump is not going to do any of the stuff that he's saying in his campaign. Nothing. You know why? The Constitution not only doesn't allow it, it just ain't going to happen. It just is not going to happen. He has messed the country up. There are times in the last month that I have been wondering if we will ever recover from this pandemic. I don't know what normalcy is going to look like after the pandemic. I don't know if there will be a normal. I can't see it going away, even if they lock the country down for maybe 100 days. Even if for 3 months they say, all right, we'll pay you guys to stay home. I don't know that it's going to change because the virus is already in the air. Are they going to sanitize the air? Or are they going to spray us so that we don't breathe it in? I don't know. I don't know what life is going to be like. Do you know that by the scientists and economists are saying by the end of 2021, small businesses will be no more. So for all you Republicans out there in weird land somewhere where you shut off and listen to Fox News promulgating and propagating false stories, what are you all going to do with your mom and pop businesses that you inherited? They won't exist. You have Trump to blame for that. Trump is to be blamed for that. Here is the story. This is how Trump got blamed. So, federal agencies hired contractors with no experience to find respirators and masks, fueling a black market filled with price gouging and multiple layers of profiteering brokers. One contractor called them buccaneers and profiteers. Before embarking on a 36-hour tour, right? The CEO of the federal government experts, they even formed a company so they could find PPE equipment, right? They were looking for 6 million N95 respirators and the unraveling of his $34.5 million deal to supply them to the Department of Veterans Affairs hospitals. $34.5 million for 6 million masks. These people were making massive profit, weren't they? So you know where the masks were coming from? The VA agreed to pay $575 per mask, a 350% markup from the manufacturer's list price. My God. They marked that up by 350%. This is the coronavirus pandemic unleashed. First of all, from what I read at the beginning, they pulled a story of one of the periodicals about how there were PPE masks the federal government has, the Department of Defense has, that are to be distributed to the population in the event like of a biological warfare strike. Well, guess what happened? They hoarded those so that they could sell it privately. The other thing that happened was the post office was given masks to distribute 5 per household. in America to every address. And those masks disappeared as well. Imagine that, because they were hoarding it, because they had control of the government and all the government agencies, so that Kushner and Trump and company could go sell it, because that's their conglomerate. So they went into politics. So while they're smiling and grifting you, they're stabbing you in the back, because they're taking the resources designed to help you succeed and they're using it for their own good. Are you hearing me? They gave out loans to only their friends. Those loans to their friends is what they're all living off. They made millions of dollars to make sure that they got the money for free. When all of this becomes clear, because Barr is cleaning up all the paperwork now, watch what's going to happen in the next few days. You're going to find stuff out as the days go by, and I want to know what you're all going to do about it. If you really think that there are going to be, you thought there would be an alternative slate of electors to overturn the election, if you think that there is going to be an alternate vote in the House to award each state a vote so that you can vote Trump in, you got to think again. It's not going to happen. You cannot overturn the will. And what this comes down to is racism. So I guess that's what you like, because Trump did say that Black people should not control who becomes president in America. So that's really what this is about. But what this is also about is the ravaging of your own resources, the taking and the pioneering, the buccaneering, like buccaneers, and the profiteering and the pirating of America's resources, bought and paid for on the backs of hardworking people like yourself. They took your resources and hoarded for themselves so that only they have access to it at all times. And I want to know, at what point are you going to be righteously indignant about that? Instead of marching in Washington and wearing your skirts, calling yourselves the Proud Boys, and wearing your skirts, it's hilarious. And then mooning your butts out there. You look really stupid, like grown men who are playing games. Like, do we really have time for that? Grown men airing your butt out, because that's maybe what you wanted to do. Airing your butt out there, grown men, because you want to make a point. The point you really should be making is asking Trump, where's your money? Where's your stimulus check? Where's the money for your business that you never got, the loans? You should be asking him, where's the PPE equipment that he made a company that charged 350% markup to sell it to veterans? That's what you should be asking. If anything, that's where the real deal is. What's the deal here? What's the deal? It's the craziest thing you've ever heard. I simply can't wrap my mind around it. Help me to understand, how much more stupid are we? How dumb do they think we are that they could pass this off in front of us? Where are all the PPE equipment that the Department of Defense had that were never distributed to us in a pandemic? Where is it at? Meanwhile, you're busy giving them money on your credit card so he can retire his debt, because he's broke. He has no money, none whatsoever. He's been lying through his face all this time, living off of people. He's been borrowing money from the bank just like the rest of us, because all the money he inherited, he apparently lost it in bad business deals. So he's been borrowing money from the banks and leveraging his assets and borrowing more and more and more. And then he thought of becoming president because he could rape the country. Trump has money overseas stored away. That's why all his people are traveling all of a sudden. They're looking for safe havens where they can go, because the telling is coming. They're not going to get away with it. You have people in Congress who are going to want to know, you need to tell us what happened. Where did this money go and where did these go? I mean, you got to be careful of this, because Jesus said it best. You remember the story of Jesus, Palm Sunday. He rode into the streets. He rode into Jerusalem on what? On a donkey. They laid down palm leaves before him. 7 days later, the same people said what? Crucify him. 7 days prior to, they were saying, Hail, Hosanna to he who comes in the name of the Lord. 7 days later, what did they say? Crucify him. Trump needs to be careful because all he's thinking is he's grifting you and making money off you. The very same people who are saying hail to the chief and hail Mr. President are the very same people who will turn around and say, crucify him, lock him up. He stole our money, lock him up. I can't believe he did this. If you think this, he's just going to slink away and he's just going to run an alternative White House, are you kidding me? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're going to shut him down, and they have the proof. In fact, the New York Attorney General just yesterday sent a letter to the White House counsel that as part of their job, they're to keep all records in the White House. We know they're going to destroy the records because they don't want to display what really went on. Not when you're going to hear testimony that says that the administration actually thought about making everybody in America infected. So for all of you out there who have lost sons and grandsons and granddaughters to the coronavirus epidemic, good luck to you all. You now have your pin man to go after. You now have your pin man to go ask him what's up with that. Because he did that. Yes, he did. Are you happy now? How do you feel? Are you happy now? Think about that. When we were saying, why are you letting athletes play football? Why are you sending all these young kids to go into it? When studies now show that the long-term effects from the coronavirus are that people develop lung and heart conditions. Why would you want to cripple young people like that? It was because of a policy by the administration that said that let everyone get infected and eventually we will become immune. The story is on Politico.com. Go read it. They've got the emails. They publish them. And you are out there jumping tough about how you wanted this guy to continue. If this guy had won the election, we would never have elections again in America. They would have shut it down and made sure you saw all he's trying to do is set a precedent so that some other dude out there somewhere can say, okay, they tried that and it didn't work. There is another way around it. Things that we would have never thought of because we assumed that everyone who lives here likes the democratic process and likes the democratic way of life and the democratic way of doing things. Apparently, they don't. Power is all-consuming and power corrupts absolutely. When people get power, just try it out in your own neighborhoods. The person who is the block association president. Have you ever met someone who just wants to give it up? No, they don't. They want to hold on to it for as long as they can. They want to hold on to it just to make sure that they always have power. So why did you think that you give someone the reins of the most powerful country in the world, that the richest country in the world, that he could do anything he wanted? Why did you think he and his family members, he planted every family member of his in a government position? Why did you think they would want to give it up? You became consumed with your own choices. He convinced you that the people, he brought back racism to the forefront. He convinced you that the people who are to be blamed are people like me, black and brown people. He convinced you of that. And you believed it again. You were duped into thinking that the reason you don't have businesses, the reason you don't have the same qualifications that I do is because I took your qualifications from you. And I took your businesses from you and I took your money from you. How stupid is that? Just simply how stupid. You believed it because why? Why did you believe all the lies he told? Because you wanted to believe it. The evidence to the contrary was right in front of all of us. Some of us chose not to believe it because it was evident. And some of you chose to, because you wanted to. You didn't want to think the hard questions. Because if you really did, it would employ some level of using a part of your brain that maybe you have to dust the ashes off it or dust off it or something. This has been going on. And my fear is that there will arise somebody else who will think like Trump and want to be like Trump. That's my fear. I really feel like that is the way that this is going to go down. Because now that they have seen it, they're going to do Not the same things he did. They're going to do the same things, but do it in an opposite way. They're not going to be a reality star who is seeking popularity. They're just going to do it quietly behind the scenes and shut it down so that when they become president, they stay president forever. I kid you not. It's the same thing in Russia. Putin has been president since I was born. He's still the president. How? Because people love power. Putin was in from the Berlin Wall fell down. He's been the president since then, from when I was born, y'all. And he's still the president, and he just signed a constitutional draft that made him president for life. He'll be president until something like 2036. Did you hear what I said? That is what happens when you see these zealots go, when you send them, you elect those people and you send them. We think they're passionate and we say, oh, I'll vote for him because he's passionate. No, he's a zealot. What you're looking at is an all-consuming person consumed with their own power. Look at Ron Johnson. Liar, bigger liar has never been told. Look at him. He's sitting up there knowing that this is a farce and a lie and still defending it in the House, going on record. And I'm like, what are you going to do when the record shows in a few months that this man has been lying? What are you going to do? Are you going to now say, well, I didn't know when he duped me? You knew that it was a lie and you still did it publicly. Because you're getting paid? Somebody paid you off? They promised you something? I don't know. It seems to me that power is up for sale. And the methods by which people pursue power, they will do anything. You remember Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein hung out and socialized and drank with the most powerful people, not just in the country, but in the world. Why? Because people like power. They like being around powerful people. Even if they're performing menial tasks, they just like to say, I was hanging out with Tom Brown the other day. I was hanging out with Jack Smith. Yeah, I know, he's my friend. People like to say that. It makes them feel good. And it makes others look at them as if there's something special. There's something about them that, they just hang out with powerful people. People like power. You remember Jeffrey Epstein once said that he could never be caught. He would never go to jail. He would never have a problem. Seriously? Because he had all the facts. I feel like the New York Attorney General has those same facts that Jeffrey Epstein had, and they're just waiting for Trump to get out of office. When the presidential immunity is off, they're waiting for that. Because when that is done, and that is why Trump is trying so hard to say the election was stolen from him. Because not only is he using it to collect money from you, but he's also using it so that you will always defend him. You know better. America has never had those kinds of elections in over 200 years. Why suddenly is it going to be broken? Think about that. Ask yourself that question. If you can ask yourself that question, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, just ask yourself that question. If you can answer that truthfully, then you have the answer. I suspect that as time moves away from Trump and he's now irrelevant, but he's going to become even more insignificant, you're going to see that maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have just been a Republican and not been such a, ardent supporter. Because that's what it comes down to. In your passion and ardency, you obviated the truth, surpassed the truth. And now here we all are, finding out that they had the PPE equipment that could have saved American lives, and instead they hoarded it so that they could make money. This sounds like you're in another country. This is what we accuse other countries of, isn't it? At least that's what we used to when we were America. We're not America now. She left. 4 years was all it took to topple all that America had built up. 4 years was all it took. America is the country that would have distributed PPE equipment to other countries. They would have made sure that everybody had it here in America. They would have made sure it got distributed to at least 90% of the population. And then they would have looked overseas and said, here is what we're doing. Here's the best practice. Instead, America switched up And these people just suddenly, it's all for me. Let's sell it and make money. Good luck with to you all, because it's coming. That day of reckoning is coming. And when it comes, God have mercy. It is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be so bad. When you realize and you sit down in your armchair and realize you gave up everything for belief in a person who never had governmental experience, never advocated for anything, didn't have a platform, didn't have a belief system, nothing, just went in there for the money. What you gonna do with yourself? These people are outrageous. They sold us out and killed us off because they wanted to make money. God bless America, but not them. And God help them as we find these things out. May the system of justice find them and effectively lace them with the power of the American justice system. My name is Harry Kemmeth. Today is Thursday. Go out and have a good day. This is as down to earth as I can get. Be blessed.